I want that.
Not that one. Nope, now I lost it. I lost the song and the button. Yeah, it should be in this one. So hit play. Oh, there it is.
So just,
Start it over.
yeah.
There's a voice that cries out in the silence, searching for a heart that will love him, longing for a child that will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. And there's a God that walks over the earth. He's searching for a heart that is desperate and longing for a child who will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. And he says, love me with your whole heart. He wants it all today. Serve me with your lives now. He wants it all today. Bow down, let go of your idols. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. So give it all. And there's a God that walks over the earth. He's searching for a heart that is desperate and longing for a child who will give him their all, give it all. He wants it all. And he says, love me with your whole heart. He wants it all today. Serve me with your life now. He wants it all today. Bow down, let go of your idols. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. So give it all today. So give it all. More of you, he wants it all today. All of you, more of you, he wants it all today. All of you, more of you, he wants it all today. He wants it all today. He wants it all today. Give it all. And there's a voice that cries out in the silence. He's searching for a heart that will love him, and longing for a child that will give him their all, give it all. He wants your all.
Amen. That one's not great. How do you fix that? You gotta love it.
You gotta love technology.
Morning, everyone. What episode? I'm always amazed how God ties in different things, such as the music, and the sermon, or the children's story,
without pre-planning.
But yes, the song just fits right into the sermon. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, but
You got one.
it's okay, it's one. We are not many people.
Okay, everybody to this side. Try pointing
There
at
it
the
goes.
center. See if it picks up more.
Yeah.
You got him.
New toys. I'm not familiar with everything. The iPad's a little different than what I'm used to. The system's a little different too as well. We're very familiar with different things, but I'm going to go forward anyway. So I'm going to try and go a little fast through the slides. But we're going to start with some scriptures. All right. So the first one's found in Revelation 14, verse 6, and it says, I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment is come. There are little key words that I want you to stick in your mind, because we're going to talk about them as we're going through. One we just passed here. Fear God, give him glory, for the hour of his judgment is come. So there's a particular time frame that this verse is identifying with. And for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains and the water. There's different things here that we're identifying. Heaven, earth, sea, and the fountains of water. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, great city, because she made all nations drink of her wine, the wrath of her fornication. So because of this message, there's a result that happens. And it's happening around judgment time. Okay? All right, Revelation 7, 2 and 3 says, Then I saw another angel ascending from the rising of the sun with the seal of the living God. Another word that I want to focus on. seal of the living God. And he called with a loud voice to the 4 angels who had been given power to harm the earth and sea, saying, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until we have sealed the servants of God on their foreheads. So we got some different things going on here. Talking about sealing. We're talking about the forehead. And an angel giving this. And the third angel, again we're in Revelation 14, starting verse 9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out with mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of the torment ascended up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. There are some different things in here as well. Again, we're talking about an image, we're talking about marks, also a new word, beast. Revelation 13, starting in verse 15, says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause. And this word cause has another meaning as well. It means to force. So, and cause that as many that would not worship, and the key word here that we're going to be looking at, worship, this beast, the image of the beast, causes, forces, and it has to do with worship. And he causes all, some, all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bound, to receive a mark in their right hand, on the foreheads. Two things, hands, foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark of the name of the beast or the number of his name. So there's quite a few things in here. That's just right. And Revelation 16 says, in verse 1, and I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. This is talking about 7 last plagues. It is judgment. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast. Again, the mark of the beast is still associated in this vocabulary. And upon them which worship this image. Again, we've got worship going on. So, there's 2 different things here. The first one we talked about was a call to God's people. The second one was kind of identifying the beast and so forth. Each of them talked about marks, seals. So my question is, where can we learn more about this seal or mark or sign? And there is so much confusion going on in this world. Every single week, there's something different. I enjoyed your sermon last week, Francis. It's kind of ironic that my daughter came home and she said, "Dad, Mom, have you guys heard it? Have you heard of the aliens?" Kind of, yeah, well, no, I have not actually, because I don't really watch too much TV. But she was really convinced that aliens. So yeah, it'd be nice for her here as well. I guess there's quite a few people that are blessed by it. The last 2 or 3 years, we've had so much chaos going in our world, thinking of COVID and so forth. And, people have gotten to the point where they just said, I'm glad it's over. I don't want to meditate on it anymore. And I agree. But there are some things that, happen, and everything has a purpose. Now, whether it's from God or it's from Satan, I guess there are things that you can think about to identify, because Satan is associated with fear. God is associated with love. And Satan is associated with coercing and pushing and forcing, and God allows you to make choices. I look at COVID as kind of like a Thanksgiving table. Kind of a weird thing to say, but that's how I picture it. I picture my wife on Thanksgiving Day. She's going to take on most of the task by herself with all the different things. And it usually starts at the beginning of the week, Sunday, go out grocery shopping, and you get this, you get this, you need this, and you do that. And a whole big cartload of stuff you put in the car to prepare. So now you got your materials, and the day comes. My wife's up at 5 o'clock in the morning. She's doing that, she's doing that, she's doing that. Comes 9 o'clock, she's still doing it, she's doing it. Everything takes time for her to get things ready. And sometimes somebody will ask, "Can I help with this? Can I help with that?" And maybe sometimes she doesn't want help, or doesn't need help, or doesn't think you're going to do it right. But anyways, the fact of the matter, it takes time to prepare that whole table. Usually by the end of the day, my wife says, "I'm not doing this again." She says that every single Thanksgiving. I'm not doing that again. But I want to tell you, COVID has produced lots of things that if you look at them in different ways, you could probably say this could be associated with this in prophecy. Things that are preparing, getting ready for this table, final preparation for humankind. Now, I'm not going to meditate too much on that. I just wanted to say that things don't happen accidentally. Satan is a mastermind of deceiving and planning, presently and the future. Right? And the Bible is true about what it says. So, 10 Commandments. Today's world in a court. I don't know much about this. I'm not a lawyer. I try to stay away from courts as much as I can, especially I don't want to be convicted of anything. But I hear that when people make laws, they usually have a seal. Right? And they've done it in old times as well. Kings have seals. In today's world, we have presidents that have seals. So, why I put 10 Commandments as a whole up here? Because God has a seal as well. Somewhere in that 10 Commandments, God has put a seal. When the Bible talks about seal in Revelation, it's talking about the same type of things government officials have. So my question is what are in these seals? What makes a seal? And can we find out a little bit more if this is the correct thought for these seals that Revelation is talking about as well as Daniel? All right? So let's look at the fourth commandment. The fourth commandment is the only commandment that starts off with the word remember. What does it mean to remember? What am I implying when I'm saying, Francis, remember? I'm implying that you're going to forget.
It's important.
It's important. So the first word that God uses in this is remember. All right? And there are many different things that are important with the Sabbath. You can spend hours and hours and days meditating and finding different things that are connected with the Sabbath. The number one thing that I feel the Sabbath is that it revolves around quality time with God. Now, husbands and wives, healthy ways of keeping your relationship is spending time with your husbands and wives, or wife, husband and wife. And when you lose that time together, sometimes the relationships needs to be renewed. It tends to break down. So the Sabbath is under attack quite a bit. And so let's just read it. It says, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son, or your daughter, nor your manservant, or your maidservant, nor your animals, nor the alien within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the seventh day to be holy. Something I've heard before is up in the top part it says 6 days you shall labor and do your work. If I was to say to you, we went into a library and I asked you to read a book, the question would be, what book? There's so many books here. It says a specific book, a specific name, a specific author. Well, the fourth commandment says, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Our days are not always labeled as Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, but the Bible describes these days with numbers. The first day, the second day. You can see this in Genesis. So God specifically said that the sixth day, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath. And it's pretty much in most calendars, it says the same thing, even today. So, back to the seal. What is this guy doing? He doesn't know. I'm not trying to be political here. I'm just showing you that there are some events that go on. When the person changes office, what is one of the first things they do? They sit at a desk, and he's handing out pens because he has signed his name to paperwork that is going to change laws or making new laws. So one of the first things that a president does when he changes office from another president is signs things into existence. Notice the thing right in front of him there. What is that? That's your seal again. Right? I'm going to go back to this just for a second. So, this seal is missing something. To make this seal legal, what's it need? So there's some clues. It's telling you the president, you have the country, and then command putting his name to the seal. So, what about the Sabbath? The Lord thy God. Again, we're quoting this from the fourth commandment. The title is Lord. Let's do this here. It says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. Here is your name. Right. Again, this is in the fourth commandment. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made, this is his office, the heavens and the earth, his territory, the sea and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. So God's seal contains his name, his title, and the territory, heaven and earth. You can find this in the fourth commandment. I want to look at a little bit of vocabulary in different places in Scripture to see if there's similarities when they're talking about the Sabbath. So in Exodus 31:13, it speaks thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations. The word sign. It is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am the Lord that doth sanctify you. In Deuteronomy 6:4, it says, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto the children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon the hand, and they shall be frontals between thine eyes. All right. What's in here? What's beyond the skull here? It's your frontals. Where is your decisions made? Right there in front. Very important parts. So God is describing this part. He's talking about his commands. He's talking about teaching the children. Why is he talking about the hands? Because what you are learning and putting in here, you are doing. Whether it be work, whether it not be working, making conscious decisions. So, we'll go back to Revelation and we see, we talk about the signs and the seals and so forth. It's clearly talking about God's laws, His Sabbath. And remember, the controversy is about worship and force, and not having force. God spoke to Moses, tell the Israelites, above all, keep my Sabbaths, the sign between me and you, generation and generation, to keep the knowledge alive that I am the God who makes you holy. Keep the Sabbaths, it's holy to you. Whoever profanes it will certainly be put to death. Whoever works on it will be excommunicated from the people. There are 6 days for work, but the seventh day is a Sabbath. Pure rest, holy to God. Anyone who works on the Sabbath will most certainly be put to death. What is happening in the last day plagues? Are these judgments not on the people? That maybe causes death. The Israelites will keep the Sabbath, observe Sabbath keeping down through the generations as a standing covenant. It is a fixed sign, me and the Israelites. Yes, because in 6 days God made heaven and the earth, and on the seventh day he stopped and looked and said it was good. So they took a deep breath. Pretty sure he said it was good too. So Hebrews 10:16 says, "This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their hearts, and I will write them in their sins. I will write them in their sins, and iniquities will remember no more." All right. So there's a question on everybody's mind. What is this Saturday and Sunday? Could it be God changes? So the question is does God change? Well, let's see the scriptures. And Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Jesus himself said in Matthew 5, says, "Do not think that I came to destroy the law, the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For surely I say to you, till heaven and earth pass away, one jot or one little tittle will by no means pass from the law, till all is fulfilled. Whoever therefore breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches them so shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does and teaches them, he shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven." I think a tittle is like comma, period. And Deuteronomy 4:2 says, "Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish from it, that you may keep the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you." Deuteronomy 12:32 says, Everything that I command you, you shall be careful to do. You shall not add to it or take from it. All right, this is found in the very Revelation. I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book. If anyone adds to them, may God add to him the plagues which are written in this book. If anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, may God take away his part from the tree of life and out of the holy city which are written in this book. Sounds like God doesn't want us to change anything in this book. So, if you are not keeping the Sabbath day set apart, whose sign or mark are you carrying? Exodus 31:17 says, "The seventh day Sabbath is a sign forever between the Creator and his children." Sign in Strong's Concordance is defined as a signal, a sign, mark, evidence, proof, remembrance. So if this man here was to write a law today, would it be effective? How about this one? How important this seal is with the signature. If I take this signature, or if somebody takes a signature away from God's law and puts their own sign or seal in place of it, what are they claiming? They are claiming that they are making the laws, that they are making the rules. How important the seal of God is of the fourth commandment. When you read those verses again in Revelation and Daniel, remember how important they are. These are warnings. These are last day warnings. There's a warning to go out, great light given to the whole world about this particular subject. And we are still, maybe even today, you are hearing parts of it. So currently, there is one Sabbath And there's a counterfeit set. One is man-made. One is given power to the beast from Satan, the dragon. And the 725 is a little prophetic. This present tense as of today. He will speak against the Most High, which is God, and oppresses his holy people and tries to change and set times and laws. What law? The scriptures consist of time. Fourth commandment. So, Malachi 3 says, I am the Lord, I change not. Two choices. It has not come to the point where one is forced. And you will not expect God to force his. Only by given, but not force. But the scriptures say that the one sign, seal, will be forced. So, I am not pointing any fingers at any particular people. The history shows that Catholic Church has changed it. There are many good people in the Catholic Church. There are many good people in Protestant churches. And let me read this to you. Again, it's Revelation 15. All right. This was part of our anniversary. We're going to do just verse 4. Okay, let's do all of it. And after these things I saw another angel coming down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was enlightened with his glory. We just talked about that. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, the great, has fallen. Babylon is confusion, right? And has become the habitation of the devil, and the hold of every foul spirit, and cave of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of wrath for fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Now, this part is important. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people. There are people in many different denominations that will hear this loud cry. They are God's people. People have the freedom of choice. God gives choice. But there is a call because he loves people very much. And the call is to come out of her before these plagues come, before the judgment comes, that they will not be associated with the mark. All right. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. Let's see what I got. I'll go 5 minutes. Yes. All right. When you see this young lady, what do you think of? Anybody know who she is? Allergy issues. Okay. She was very much on climate change. She was from a different country. Sweden. So I like those captions. When you leave your car running in the driveway because it was winter, but then you hear the doorbell ring. She's looking into the doorbell. I tell you, your car's running. Why would she tell you your car's running? What reason? This is like 2015. Yes. She was very much with the climate change, and she still is. As I told you, there are many things happening in the world. The but there's other stuff that's kind of just put the camouflage and nobody sees it, right? Because they're not thinking spiritual. But this man here in 2015 did an encyclical, and it was on climate change. He says that it's urgent to develop policies to reduce emissions of carbon dioxide and highly polluting gases. All right, this is just a little brief thing of his encyclical, and it's focusing on the Sabbath. All right, so what does Laudato Si mean, or Laudato Si mean in English? It says Latin for praise be. Laudato Si is the name of Pope Francis' encyclical on caring for common home, planet Earth. The letter is addressed to every person living on the planet and calls for global dialogue about how we are shaping the future of the planet through our daily actions and decisions. Laudato Si, a day of praise which heals our relationships. Day 11 looks at Laudato Si, reminds us what today is all about. On Sunday, our practice in the Eucharist has special importance. Sunday, like the Jewish Sabbath, is meant to be a day which heals our relationships with God, with ourselves, with others, and with the world. Sunday is the day of resurrection, the first day of the new creation. These first fruits are. I find it pretty incredible that they don't really hide much at all. They're pretty straightforward, which is okay, not to lie. There's a little more to it. I'm going to it. It says now is the time for courageous actions and strategies aimed at implementing a culture of care and integrated approaching to combating poverty, restoring dignity to the excluded, and at the same time protecting nature. There's an agenda that he has. It's been existing knowledge to the world probably since about 715. This is kind of an odd picture. Again, 2015. Where are they? Who's in their center?
Congress.
He has a message for those people. I don't know too many times. I've been around 60 years, and that's the only time I've ever seen a Pope inside Congress, and the rest has been Vice President. All right, so now we jump to where? Not Congress anymore. He's got a message. And you can see the small print there. It says climate talks must be head the call of Pope Francis. He is addressing climate change. The United Nations. This guy here is, I won't say his name is Tony Palmer. He's not alive anymore. He's a bishop from Africa. He was a bishop. He passed away shortly after he gave this call to the Protestants. I don't know if you recognize some of these people. Kenneth Copeland. You can see Tony in the far left, right. But his message is to end this diversity, end this Protestantism. He was creating unity. And of course, the gentleman senator was kind of the masterminds of this process that's going on. So, at a particular time, again, in 2015, there was an acceptance that they are no longer Protestants, but they are one. And the protest was over. That's what his. There is a, you go YouTube this and you can watch this. Type in Tony Palmer, protest is over, and you'll watch this whole little thing go over. They do it. It's still on YouTube. But what I'm just saying is there's unification that's it's being reached to. All right, so again, the direction I'm going here is what the Pope is actually doing. He's being directed. Vatican has been very big on climate change. What's different? These guys sitting behind him. Do you notice anything? Yes. Yeah. So it's been in process for a little while. These are religious leaders. These aren't just bishops that are behind them, but they're reaching out to the religious organizations of the world where they have, this is in COP, leaders before COP 26. I don't know what number they're on now, but these people are all going to the Vatican, all the different church leaders. You know? It says, faith leaders signed a joint climate appeal before summit. So they're unified. And there are people from all over the world. I'll just show you a couple of pictures. All right, let's go this direction. What is this? These are United Nations climate talks. And I'm sure if you were to Google some of the visitors that went to the Vatican to talk about climate change as well, you would see world leaders as well. An invitation was gone out to the public that all business leaders, all kinds of leaders, any kind of leaders that were leading out in government and businesses, there was an invitation to come to the Vatican. There was instructions that he wanted to share with world leaders and businessmen. Pope Francis, business executives, and government leaders come. And these people are meeting for climate change. Same thing, climate change. They're all developing and learning plans on how to fight this stuff. No matter what political side they're on, they're all included with it. Says Joe Biden launches a new platform and increases clean technology. All right, clean technology. What have we been seeing in the past month or so? Do you know that they claim that these events were caused by lightning? Climate? Do you know these? Have you heard of Hawaii lately? Like this past couple of days, same thing. They're saying that the climate was a certain, and it's causing these different fires. Some of these things brought work to WHO. WHO has adapted health restrictions that they can apply to anybody in the world. That happened June 23rd. You don't even know about it, but they incorporated in the phones. How about digital currency? Have you heard anything about that? What happens if our almighty dollar dissolves and everything goes digital? Will it control buying and selling these things? Is it a possibility? You see what I'm saying about some of these things in COVID-19 that kind of launched possibilities for everything. It's in Canada. 3 years ago, there was a protest against the restrictions of COVID.
3 years already?
Truckers went to Ottawa. They shut down all freeways leading to Ottawa. Trucks just piled in the streets everywhere. Nobody get around. Ottawa's no business. Trudeau, he was out the door. He was nowhere to be found. Crackdown Canada, Trudeau invokes emergency power against truckers. He took away their ability through vigil, through the banks. So none of these truckers can receive any money from loved ones or themselves. They even went down to the people that were distributing money through GoFundMe and stuff like that. They were tapping into that. And it shows you that the government has the ability to do these type of things. Last slide. And then the great deceiver will persuade men that those who serve God are causing these evils. The class that have provoked this pleasure of heaven will charge all their troubles upon those who obedience to God's command is perpetual reproof to transgression. It will be declared that the men are offending God by the violations of the Sunday Sabbath. That this sin has brought calamities which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced. And that those who present the claims of the fourth commandment, thus destroying reverence for Sunday. In the last days, the Bible talks about climate change, wars, rumors of wars, floods. Well, the Spirit of Prophecy also talks about it too. And I believe that these climate changes are being caused by Satan, and the finger is being pointed at people themselves, and that we need to solve this problem. And why you see all these different things, such as your windmills, your solar things. It's kind of like Christmas. When Christmas comes, there's lights here, there's lights here. It's trying to give you the feeling of Christmas. Well, so it is with our society today. We are getting an atmosphere of conditioning, and more things are happening in our atmosphere to give us the ideal that we need to do something. Eventually, it'll get to the point, possibly, and I'm just doing a scenario, that we need to take a universal day off to give our world a break. And you can probably guess which day they want to use. It'll be to the point where both secular and spiritual people, I think before that happens, there will be more and more like Sabbath from those that have understanding from Scripture. Good news is, the rock destroys the statue, the human statue. Yes. Even more good news. Jesus is coming shortly afterwards. That's right. And maybe the things in the scriptures scares you a little bit, but the closer you come to God, God says perfect love casts out fear. So draw close to God. Read your scriptures. Know that God has said it before it's happened. And believe there's credibility in the scriptures. And God bless you the rest of the day.
6:33.
6:33.